Hey, well, welcome to this video. The purpose of this is to talk about how to replace the suspension shock absorbers on an older MIELE. When ours started to make loud clunking noises, especially when loaded with towels or sheets and spinning at 1,000 RPM, the loud clunking noises got our attention. I went on to YouTube and discovered some people referring to the shock absorbers wearing out. I found many videos explaining how to replace them, but I did not find a single video for this model. It's an older model, the 1900 series. This is a W1918. These were manufactured between 1994 and 2002, and we got one at the very end of that cycle. So it's over 20 years old. In our house, where the original owners were a family of now two, but growing up there were four of us, and so it didn't get overly heavy use, but these recent clunks got us going. And because I could not find an explanation of how to replace the shock absorbers for this model, I followed the other instructions and then by guess and by golly figured it out. And I'm going to share that with you as best I can. The amazing thing about this, and if you've watched the other videos, you'll be shocked, this one does not have removable sides. The two sides in the back are all a single piece of tin. You do not need to remove the sides. You do not need to remove the top. You do not need to remove the front door. In fact, you can't remove the front door easily, but the front door will swing open with a simple removal of, I believe, 3 bolts and 3 screws. I'm going to proceed to do that just because it is so simple, and then I'll show you where the shock absorbers are located, and I've done the fix already, but I thought I'd leave this report for others who might be struggling to figure out how to fix their MIELE W1918. And maybe it applies to other 1900 series. I do not know about that. So I'm going to begin. Take the drawer out. Take the little tool to loosen down here. We want to take out this pipe. Because I've unplugged it, I need to use the manual door release and open the doors. The other videos for other MIELE models show just a single 10 millimeter bolt, but this one has 3. Oh, by the way, I'm going to lift the camera briefly to show you all the tools that will be needed in this job. We're going to need a Torx, I believe that's a T20. We're going to need a 10 millimeter socket with a driver. We're going to need a 13 millimeter socket with a short arm, and then we'll need an extension, and probably you too will need a longer arm socket because the top 2 bolts on the shock absorbers are really tight. The bottom 2 loosened easily and could be reached with this device. The top 2 could not be reached easily. They needed the extension, which you'll see, and I needed more leverage to loosen the top bolts. Okay, back to opening the front door. The first step is to remove screws here and here. And the third one way over here. And then to remove those 10 millimeter bolts. If you've watched the other videos, they talk about removing all the faceplate. They talk about finding a spring with a wire that holds the rubber boot. There isn't a spring with a wire, and you don't remove the rubber boot because it's going to fold out with the door. All right. Now the door, there is a latch down here underneath, and so you need to lift this edge a little bit. We can close this now. Lift this edge, and can you believe it? If you've watched those other videos, can you believe how simple that was? to open the door, and now we can get in there and replace the shock absorbers. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. Now I'm going to bring the camera down to show you the shock absorbers. I need to hold this back as best I can. What's the best way to do that? Oh, there we go. Coming down, coming down. Sorry if I make you seasick. Focusing up a little bit. Let's get a light on it. All right. There is one shock absorber on the right hand side. You can see the lower nut. And if I focus up there, right there is the upper nut. You can see how difficult it would be. It's in the dark. There we go. How difficult it would be to reach that without the extension. So the right hand side is quite easy to do. The left hand side's another story. The shock absorber is buried back there. It's hard to see right now. In fact, the light is not focusing on it much. So here's what we needed to do. What I needed to do. I needed to remove this bottom plate, which you pop off with a little tab here and a little tab here. And I'll go ahead and do this. 2 more T20s, one on the left, very short little guy, and one on the right. And so that comes off. And now you see this little bracket right here. If this bracket is removed, then this whole device will lift up and slide this way, slide that way, whoop, that way. I did not choose to remove the clamp here from this rubber tubing. It's still very flexible. I was able to slide this over far enough, and I made a little device, which I'll even show you. I simply made what I call a grabbing bar that I hooked over here, and I used to hook here on the back side of this to move it over, and I was able to reach in there and reach the left hand shock absorber. And once again, I use my shorter arm ratchet wrench with a 13mm socket to loosen the lower nuts, and I used the extension, and I needed the longer arm socket to loosen the upper nuts. I was able to reach in to both sides, left side being harder, reach in and take those nuts off, slide the bolts out, put the new shock absorbers in, and close it up from there. I'll leave it at that. If you have any specific questions, please put them in the comments. I'll try to answer as clearly as I can. But I hope this saves you time, and I hope it gives you hope that you too can replace even an older set of shock absorbers on an older Miele, even though the internet so far, as best I could not find, has any explanation about how to do it. All the videos out there are for newer models where the sides come off. There you go. Best of luck on your project.